Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I will teach you how to draw the Cathedral of St. Mark's from Rome using the perspective technique. Beware, this video is packed with content and I will teach you a more novel and detailed and professional way of drawing it. Um, First of all, I will say I have uh, taken lessons from a real architect who was pretty much an expert in perspective. First of all, I need to show you a small trick for getting good perspectives. You, you must draw the horizon lines, the vanishing points as far as possible on the paper, so on the edge of the paper. What this does basically, uh, and what this does basically is it makes the perspective look more real because the vanishing points are usually very far on a big building and it is according to the rules of the eye. So I will show you with a small drawing. With a small drawing, basically you do the vanishing points farther away and you get a better perspective. It is a neat technique used by many. You can play, of course, with the vanishing points a lot. A middle vanishing point, like middle to larger, will yield a more precise, how can I say, will yield, will produce a more closer sketch, so to say, and a perspective with a farther vanishing point is usually for big buildings. Basically, I do the vanishing point farther away. I will use markers to demonstrate properly the way in which I use it, but I will start with the sketch by on graphite. I show you how the cathedral looks like. The first thing you can do is draw you can measure the distance by eye. So it is an eye to geometry relationship. What that means is that it is technically four squares, five squares, uh, the front volume. You must draw by volumes. So first I draw the center line, then I connect to the vanishing points, which is the basics of perspective for those of you that are unaware of my videos. Basically you connect the center line. What I did here is I modified it a bit, the angle of the building to get a more to highlight, to put in view the building better, to put it on a more sort of you see it from the side view, from a side. And this is how a cube looks like in perspective. So I calculate how many cubes the facade has. That's the basics of it. And what I did is I connected the line and you get a cube completely. And I show you, this is how a cube looks like in perspective. What you can figure out is that it is on the side. And this is how a cube, the the roof of the building looks like as a cube. So it is similar to a cube as seen from a planimetric view. So at the top you see the the planimetric view of a cube, and in perspective you see the cube in 3D and rotated. That is the basics of 3-point perspective. In 2-point perspective, basically you would see it more like an inverted room. Even a room is a cube, theoretically, or a polygon. So I draw 4 cubes, which is the facade. Now I'll go into the details. I try to highlight that these are cubes, so you start from a geometrical point of view. So it is the facade and it is 4 cubes in perspective. What you can notice is that as you go further away from the perspective on the sides, the cubes will be smaller. That is the natural occurrence of the eye. And I show you something. I calculate just how small the smaller facade is, and I draw basically. I translate a bit the the cube, and you get the porch, so to say. The first thing, the closer to the eye, what you can see on the building. So I basically draw a volume like you can draw the nose of a train, the front part and the back part, so to say. The volumes, basically, the volumes, which is the facade volume. You can see in St. Mark's Cathedral, and I draw the diagonals. In perspective, the diagonals will always point the center. If you connect the cube in perspective with the diagonals, you get the center of the volume, the perfect center in perspective, because the perspective is geometrical in its essence. So what can I do with the center? You can find out basically if you repeat the process, where is the center of the volume, because center is important. It's just like drawing. You find the center of a face and you can draw the rest of the details. By the way, as you can see, it is still a cube, what I draw in violet, but it is in perspective. So basically, the closer volumes are larger than the smaller volumes. The closer half is larger than the distant half. And now I draw an example to show you. So a tunnel appears, the what it basically means, the so larger. So the exit of a tunnel looks in perspective closer, larger than the other exit of the tunnel, the one further away, just like in real life. And I draw the first detail of the Cathedral of St. Mark's, which is the the archway of the center. Now, how do I draw the other archways in perspective? You draw a sec. You go to the second cube, to the closer it is, and what you can basically, I will show you how you draw um the details in perspective. You draw a side cube, and basically it is a concave shape, so it follows the archway like a train, like sort of a train. It gets smaller, and all the lines follow the vanishing point. So basically, you get the volume concave, and the rule is that all lines follow the vanishing point, as if drawing a set of a set of a set of divisions on a concave structure. It sounds very, very complicated, but I will try to explain as best as possible. The door will be, of course, smaller because it is smaller than the other volumes. Basically, it is on a concave volume. You have three rules here. Smaller volumes are smaller in perspective. Larger volumes are larger. What is closer to the eye is larger, and all the lines follow the vanishing points. The three basic rules, the three not basic, the three hard as stone rules in perspective. I will try to draw a human because scale is very important. That is how a human will look closer, and farther away. Farther away, it will it will look larger, because that's basically how the eye works. Now I draw some details because I s- I created I created a sort of. And by the way, identical volumes, identical shapes will always look smaller the farther away, even though in real life they are the same height and the same volume. That is basically how a perspective works. Of course, if you see the same hills closer and farther away, as in real life, they will appear, the closer you get, they will appear larger. The farther away it is, even though they have the same tallness, the same height, they will appear smaller on the distance. So I drew a small arrow. The closer it is to to the center, to the center line, the larger they will appear, but pretty small objects will still seem a bit smaller. Now we draw the center figure of the cathedral, and as you can see, uh, even though they still follow the vanishing point, so I show you that it is incorrect what I have drawn, just to teach you. Basically, what is in real perspective, truth, uh, a more technical perspective is that the objects will still follow the line, the center line, the vanishing point lines. So basically, what it means, so inner, it is an inner concavity. So we draw the inner concavities, which will look as if you are drawing sort of a window, and you see a bit the details inside the window because it is a concave structure and it follows the geometrical paths of the perspective. I will show you in a moment what I mean. What I mean by every line follows the vanishing point. Just a second, I need to draw some small doors. Okay, what it basically means, just 1 second. What it basically means is that even though the lines, I will show you in a second. First I highlight I define a bit the edge of the building. And I draw it more according to reality. And what that line represents, the last one, is the roof. Basically, as you can see, the same lines, the same height lines will follow the vanishing point. Now I draw the domes. You will find something very interesting when drawing a perspective. The domes follow the perspective very closely. The domes follow the perspective from the geometry of the of the center volume, and they will always appear larger, and they must follow always they must follow uh, the roof of the volume, so to say. So the volume that you draw is in relationship with the volumes of the domes, which means they will appear sort of on the back of the building, which is how you draw it. It's very important to have an, uh, s- an observing eye when drawing volumes that are on the back. And if they are in the center of the volume, you must draw according to perspective, not according to how you think they look. And they will appear much taller. Now I draw the turrets. But hold on a second, this doesn't look right. Basically, what the tourists will do is that they will follow the actual height. They are the highest. They are not the highest, actually not the highest of the volume, but they will appear higher because the eye perceived them as so. They will appear almost higher because they are closer. What you will notice, a sort of anomaly of the eye, is that even though a volume is very high, it will appear almost higher on paper. Well, I must tell you, this is the classical approach to perspective, but you can modify it, of course. This is the basics of perspective. But if you draw more like a sort of Raphael Sanzio um, or sort of the early Renaissance, you will see they're a bit different. They use a more technical approach. So basically, now I made what I talked about. Now I show you what I talked about. The domes will appear larger but higher because they are actually higher. Of course, with the small minarets, I think are they are called. And what I basically will show you are the details which are centered. The small window openings, sort of to they are made actually to they are at the same as I wanted to show you. They are at the same level as the vanishing point, and as the perspective is rotated, uh, as you draw the farther away window openings, you will see less of them as in real life. That is an important detail because it lets you draw more akin to the geometry of sight, and repetitive objects will appear closer together as you draw from the side, and farther together as you draw more to the center of the perspective. That is an important rule. And also, the as you can see, there is the same rule. Basically, according to the horizon line, you will see on objects that are on the higher than the horizon line, you will see the details of the you will see the details of the sort of of the sort of you will see concavely uh, uh, the hidden details. And if the lines are on the lower than the horizon lines, you will see the ground floor. And if the lines are higher than the horizon line, you will see the hidden details. And I show you uh, the roof of the small turrets. They appear larger when you draw closer to the s- to the s- center line of the perspective. They will appear larger as they are closer to to the whole construction of the perspective. Now I draw the shadows, which of course they respect the basic shading. The more inner or hidden a shadow is, the darker it will appear in perspective, and the more And the more obscured is a shadow, the more obscure it is in perspective. But the lines that are on the earth are are very dark, should be very dark. And the more inner a shadow is, the darker it will be. Usually, what is on the right side is darker, what is on the left is much lighter in shadow, so you can get the effect of the effect on the sun putting shadows on a building. Now I draw a small shadow which falls from the object, which falls from of a certain volume on a different on a wall, the shadow that falls on a wall, and the inner shadows, which, as I said, are much darker, and the shadows of the building, but not in much detail. You can try being very geometrical with the drawing, but of course this is an introductory video. Hope you had some fun and the video was educational and inspiring. Like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Have a nice day.